Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Andy All Over. I just got back from a trip to France. I spent 4 days in Paris, and one of the things I want to talk about real quick in this video is kind of all the different things you need to know regarding COVID and travel restrictions when you're going to France. I think that there's a lot of different information out there, and sometimes it can be hard to kind of put it all together in a comprehensive way and understand, hey, what do I need to know? What do I need to bring? What's the situation like on the ground if we're taking a trip to Paris or France? So I was just there. Today is August 31st. So this information is current kind of as of today, and I know things can always be changing. But I'm gonna try to give you guys as best of kind of an overview of the situation and traveling to France and what it's like and what you're gonna need to know. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the context here. So France is using a system called the Green Pass system. And essentially all that means is that if you want to get into restaurants, into bars, into cafes, into museums in France, you have to have a Green Pass. And so if you're a resident of France or you live in the EU, you're able to get that Green Pass and essentially have a QR code on your phone that gets you into everything. But obviously the catch is, if you don't live in the EU, what are you supposed to do? I'm American, obviously, and so before going on this trip, I kind of got confused with, hey, how exactly am I supposed to get in and get this Green Pass? And I think that the answer is, I didn't. So there is a system in place where tourists from outside of the EU can apply to get a Green Pass. And so I did that, and I'll put the link here below in the description so you could try to go ahead and apply for that if you're going on a trip soon. But after I applied the first day that it was made available, which I think that the first day that I was able to apply was like August 13th or something. That was just when they started having Green Pass applications available. And I sent them all my documents. You know, you have to send a picture of your passport, picture of your vaccine card and everything like that. And ultimately I never got a response outside of that they confirmed that they got it, but I was never sent any further information. I never got sent the QR code. And so basically I went into France just kind of hoping that, hey, I hope that my CDC card will be enough. I knew it would be enough to get into the country, but in terms of going to restaurants or cafes, museums, etc., I kind of was left in the dark. And so when I got there, I decided, hey, let's ask the people at our hotel, let's, actually go out and try to do things. And so what I found out is that if you have a CDC card or your government has given you a proof of vaccination card in some way, that will suffice. They're not gonna make you get a negative test, which is that was basically my concern, is that, hey, if my CDC card doesn't suffice, am I gonna have to just get a test every 48 hours, which would have probably only ended up being twice because I was there for 4 days, just to basically get into places, because a negative test can substitute for the Green Pass. But luckily I didn't have a single instance where my CDC card did not work as a means to get into somewhere. So what does that mean if you're going to France? It means that you're essentially gonna have to treat that CDC card like it is a top priority document, like you would treat your passport. You can't lose it. I made a few copies of it, although I've read some places that, if you just have a copy on a piece of paper, it may or may not work, and they may wanna see the original one. So I would say just treat your original CDC card, the one you got from the pharmacy or wherever you got vaccinated, treat that like it's a piece of gold, because that is super important to your travel experience. With that said, I would say that there's about 100% enforcement on showing that CDC card at museums or various kind of organized tours. So we did a river tour of the Seine. It was lovely, it was beautiful, and we had to show our CDC card for that. The Palace of Versailles, the Louvre, the big, kind of tourist spots, you're gonna have to show that CDC card. I found that with cafes and restaurants, however, it was kind of just a toss-up as to whether they were going to ask for it or not to sit down. So let's kind of take a step back now too and talk about, is there anything else that you need to get in besides your CDC card when you're going to Paris? And they did ask at customs for two things. Well, I guess three things, obviously including the passport. But outside of the passport, when you're going to customs, they're gonna ask to see your vaccination card. And kind of the response I got was, oh, okay, American, you're good. So that was kind of the response I got at customs. And you're also just gonna have a document, which is basically kind of like a sworn affidavit, basically saying that, to your knowledge, you haven't been in interaction with anyone with COVID in the last X amount of days. And we got that from our airline. We flew United before we got on the flight. So that's not anything that you necessarily have to print out ahead of time, which is nice. So essentially, if you have your CDC card, it's not that hard to travel to France right now. you'll pretty much be good to get into the country and be able to do whatever you want once you're inside the country. Okay, and one more thing I'll talk a little bit about is masks. And so I went obviously in August, and so it was beautiful outside, and so most of the time we were eating, we were sitting outside of the cafe or sitting outside of the restaurant. And so I don't think pretty much at all actually ate inside of a restaurant. But if you are gonna sit actually inside of a restaurant, they're gonna make you have a mask on when you enter the door before you sit down. But then once you sit down, you know, you're kind of able to take it off. And obviously if you're sitting outside, you can kind of just grab a seat outside and go from there. There's so much good food in Paris. We loved it, and the weather's great because it's still cafe season, it's still sunny. So if you're going soon and the weather is still good, I hope you enjoy all the lovely cafes and outdoor seating at restaurants in Paris. So hopefully this video helped kind of highlight my experience in France and in Paris, kind of traveling and kind of everything you'll need to know to get in. To be honest, if you're vaccinated and you have your CDC card, it's not gonna be too hard to get in or get around. Just obviously make sure to stay safe and kind of keep in mind that all of this is subject to change. As I'm speaking today, there's just a news article coming out that the EU is kind of taking the US off the list of places that they're recommending European countries accept travel. It's only gonna be up to all these individual countries to decide if they want tourism or not. And you thought this video was helpful. I'm gonna have actually a lot more content coming out about my Paris trip, all the kind of cool things I did, some advice for your time in Paris. So definitely stay tuned to this channel and go ahead and click a like and subscribe button. And I'm also gonna be doing a similar video to this, talking about everything you need to know, kind of COVID, pandemic, travel restriction related for Italy, because that was the other country I went to on my trip. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline with my channel, especially now that travel is opening, at least for now, and hopefully it'll continue to stay that way. So make sure to stay in touch, leave a like on this video and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.